Hi everyone, my name is Laskewitz, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can use Excel scripts to put data into an Excel sheet or how to get data out of an Excel sheet. And I'm going to do that with inputs and outputs. This is the second part of my Excel script series. And in the first one, I already showed you how you can create a table and how you can trigger that Excel script from Power Automate. But in this video, we're going to take it a step further and we are going to show you how you can put an input into that Excel script. And that could be a number of items that you want to put into the Excel script. And I'm also going to show you how you can get data back from Excel. So in this case, we're going to get a count of the rows that are in the table. And those are the number of rows that are in the table, of course. And then we will get that number back from the Excel script. So without further ado, let's move to my desktop and show you how it's been done. Okay, so here we are in Excel Online or Excel for the web. And I have the code editor open for the create people table script that we already created in the last video. When I run this, it will create the table at the top left corner. It has a couple of columns here and it renamed the table to people table. So when I select this one and I go to design, I can see the table name here called people table. So that's the first part of our scenario which we want to do. Now let's move to the list of scripts. We can see that I only have one script in here. I want to record some actions. So let's record here and start working from there. So I'm gonna fill in my first name. I'm gonna fill in my last name. I'm gonna fill in my age. I'm gonna fill in my country. So there we are. And now you can see already that A2, B2, C2, and D2 were edited. So when I click stop now, it will have recorded all the actions. So let's call it this insert row in table. And let's save this. And let's see what was created. So let's edit this one. And here you can see it got the range of a selected sheet. So it got the A2 to D2. It got the active worksheet again. So this is fine when you are running it from Excel for web. But if you are working with this from Power Automate, you want to change this to get first worksheet, or you can just get the worksheet by a name. But I wanted to show you this because in lots of scenarios, it's really nice to use the record actions part, but sometimes it gets the wrong stuff. And this is one of those times, because what we want here is actually, we want to use the selected sheet, of course. We want to get a table, and we want to get a table with a name. So in this case, it's people table. I think at least that it was that. So let's check it again. At design, you can see it's a people table. So that's all fine. So now we actually have the table. And in here, we might want to add a row. And when you add a row, you can already see that there's some stuff that you can put in here. So you can use an index and you can add some values. So in this case, we can use it as, well, I'm going to use -1, because it says here that it specifies the relative position of the new row. If null or -1, the addition happens at the end. Any rows below the inserted row are shifted downwards, 0 indexed. So in this case, I'm going to use -1. And I, of course, want to add values in here. And I believe that I can do it like this. So let's just use the same thing that I'm using here and put it in there and see how that will go. So in this case, I'm gonna remove the other parts and I'm gonna use this. So let's save the script and try it again and see if it will run. Yes, it did. So now we can see that there is multiple rows already in here. So you can see that I can just start running and running and running, and it will add all kinds of rows in here. So that works. If we delete this, so let me just delete the table here, and we want to run this piece by piece. So we want to first create the people table. Let's run this, and then create the insert row into a table. Let's do that. You can see that immediately the last row, or the first row in this case, is a blank one. So that's something that it also does. It sees this as a blank row, but it was it was like it was already filled in. So with the -1, it just added it at the end of the the table, and that was this row, of course. So yeah, what you can do here is you can start at 0, but in that case it will actually do this still in the wrong way, because if I do 0, then let's just see what happens if I would run this again. So create a people table and run it. I'm gonna insert a row into a table and it will add it, but the row is still there. So there's still a blank row at the end. What we could do here is that we could delete the last row, for instance, whenever we add one. But what's also the case here is, and you can see that now, you probably want the last entry to be at the bottom, or maybe you don't, but that's something that you need to take care of. So in this case, whenever we enter something in the 0 index, then it will put it at the top, and it will not put it at the bottom in that case. So when you use -1, it will put it at the bottom, but then you still have the empty row in here. So that's something that you really need to know about. But for now, I'm just going to focus on the inserting of the script. And we want to do this with a certain input, of course. Because currently you can see that we have all the things in here and it's all hard-coded. But we probably want to change this to first name, last name, age, and country. So what we can do for that is fairly simple. We can go to this part of the script. We can enter a comma, and then we can use first name, and then enter a string, because we want that to be a string. Last name, we want that to be a string as well. Then we want to have the age, and we want that to be a number. And then we want the country, and we want that to be a string as well. So in this case, these are all the inputs that we're going to add in here. And I want to show you something really cool, because if you are looking at the scripts, it could be really messy. But because there is a really nice editor in here, you can just press enter, and make sure that it looks a lot better when you are editing your script in this case. So this is really a nice thing that is available here. And you can of course do that as well with with, for instance, the rows, if you want to add those. So that's really nice as well. Let me just delete this row in here. And we want to, of course, change this around. So I'm going to remove the whole quotes Daniel 1. I'm going to replace that with first name. And why am I also removing the quotes around it? Because I'm already using a string here. So it knows that it's going to be a string. So in this case, I'm going to add last name here. I'm going to put the age in here. And I'm going to put the country in here. And when I would save this script and I would create the table again, I can go back to the insert row in table. And this is always pretty difficult because when you select run now, it will actually do nothing because there aren't any values for first name, last name, age, and country. So in this case, we probably want to use Flow for this, or Power Automate. So here we are in my Excel scripts demo Power Automate Flow. And I have manually trigger a flow trigger. And then I have the run script create people table in here. And that's the one we also just showed. And next I want to run the script insert row into table. And we already have the script loaded in here. So we have the Excel script here, and we also can select it from here. So I already have the test Excel script.xls selected from my OneDrive, and let's select insert row in table. And when I select that, you can already see that there are multiple fields that are coming in here, and that is because of all these extra things I'm asking for. So you can make a lot of extra parameters in here. You can create those to make sure that they will get inserted in here. So for now, let's just fill in my name. I'll fill in the age, and I'll change this a little bit around so that you can see that it's Netherlands instead of the Netherlands that I used just now. So this should actually work in here. So let's try this one out and perform the trigger action. It's gonna save and test. I still have to select the run flow part here, and there it is. So when I do that, it's gonna start running. And now it is running the Excel script against the Excel file that we already have open. And after that, it will run the second script. So let's hope this will actually succeed. So in here, it did work pretty good. And then after that, it is inserting a row into a table, and that was succeeded as well. So let's check the Excel file, and here we are, and we can see that the row actually got inserted into the table, but there is still a blank row in here because it didn't insert it on the blank row. So what you need to do if you want to do this in production scenarios, make sure to delete that empty row before you insert it or after, whatever you want. And then you can just and add the row in there to make sure that this row doesn't show up. But in this case, I'm just gonna skip that part. I'm gonna do something else though, because I want to know how many rows are already filled in this table. I want to return that. So how can you return in an Excel script? You can just do easily return. So in this case, I could say return 10. And when I save this, I can actually run the flow again. So let me not run this flow again because the people table is already there. So that's also something that you could do. You could run a script to check if there is a people table, and if so, don't create a new table, but just go on and do nothing. But in this case, I'm just gonna delete this step in here. I'm just gonna try and to enter some data into the table and return 10 in this case. So when I do this and click save and test and run this flow, it will start running the script. And after a couple of seconds, around 10, 12 seconds, usually, sometimes it's a bit more, 12 seconds, here you go. You can see that there is another row in here. And when I go to the run history, you can see that the result is 10 because that's the result I gave it. But now we didn't calculate anything, but we want to. So in this case, I'm gonna enter a new line here, and I'm gonna use let count rows in here. I'm gonna use the selected sheet.get table again. I'm gonna enter the name of the people table in here. I'm gonna select the range between header and total. I think that's the one I need in here. And when I would select the get row count, I know that the row count is in here. So let's try this and hope that this works, because I'm always struggling a bit with this middle part, which I should use here. So let's do this one again and see if we can get a different value back. So the script is currently running. It's adding the row into the table, and then it should return something. And if I didn't do it right, then we should get a failed action. But in this case, it shows the result is 4. And if we go to the Excel script, you can see that there are 4 rows in here. So that's the correct number. And now for the people that don't know parse JSON, this is also really important. You can copy this body, and if you want to do something with the results that you got, you can add a new step in here. You can go to parse JSON, and in here you can say, well, I want the body from the run script, and I want to generate from a sample. And in this case, you can just select that whole thing from the body that you got from the earlier action. You always need to run the script for one time from Power Automate to get that exact body that you can use for the generate from sample part. But if I now create a new step and I would, for instance, use a compose, I can actually select the result from the parse JSON part. And when I would save this and run the flow again, you will see 5 probably, because it's going to add another row to the table in the script, and it will parse the response from the run script, and then it will use the compose to get the result out of that parse JSON action. So if we wait for a little bit, it will hopefully succeed again. And then we will get another number out of the compose action. It's taking a long time, which doesn't really promise anything good. So let's hope this will work. Still retrying. Oh, it did run successfully. So the output was 5 in this case, and we also have the 5 as an output in the compose. So this helps you a little bit to use that number or the text that you want to get out of the script to use that in here. So with that, we are at the end of the video. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you liked it. Please leave comments below in the comments here. And as always, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you at the next video. Bye bye.